louder.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of the Lexus IS300 1JZ swap 4-door Supra build. If you didn't watch part 1, we ain't got no engines.
We got no engines, do we? Do we?
We ain't got no engines. We actually do. The 1JZ is over there on the pallet. We showed you guys that in the last video. But as you can tell, if you look at the hood, if you look at the paint, it's seen better days. It's originally a black car. There's some pieces that were fading on it, and then the guy, he pulled out the old rattle bomb and went out in his driveway until his finger hurt. He basically painted some pieces of this car basically black. So what we're actually gonna be doing in this video is getting this thing ready for paint. We're gonna be doing some body work on it, doing some body filler work. We're gonna be sanding it. And then one of my favorite things is actually some primer. We should be able to lay down some primer, hopefully in this video. Sean, you wanna lay down some primer?
Yeah, I'll put some primer down.
I like primer.
We
Sean
need some
likes primer.
body parts too.
The bumpers on this thing are kind of meh. You can see we got like a big thing right here. They're zip tied. They got like a zip tied drift stitch there. The corner light's missing. The headlights are in good shape. The fog lights are in good shape. The grille is in good shape. The fenders, the hood, the bumper, everything seems pretty good. Here's an example of where you can tell a little bit of rattle can, and there's like a little run right there. This thing is from 2002, so it's 20 years old. It's kind of an old unit. Here's some dents, little dents right there. We're gonna fix those. There is one little spot right here on the quarter panel where, let's see, let's just go ahead.
Oh God, oh God.
So there is a little bit of filler right there. So I'm gonna show you guys what we'll kind of do to fix that. I wonder if this thing has had a quarter panel on it before, actually, because that's a weld. So that's either a weld from a quarter panel replacement, unless that's just from the spot welds.
God, that hurts.
What, to see this?
Yeah.
No, it's fine. I mean, this is what you do. You get it off, you prep it, and then you redo it, and you make it good. And that's not even, that's like less than 1/8 of an inch of filler. That's not too big of a deal. I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit with that right now.
Yeah, please.
Essentially, we're gonna fix some of the little areas that have had previous filler work on them. We're gonna pull the door handles, the weather stripping, all the trim stuff off of it. We're gonna pull off the mirrors, all of this stuff up here. All of this stuff will be getting basically a fresh coat of some sort of a paint to kind of restore this thing to its previous former glory. Headlights out, tail lights out, bumpers off, trim, like all this little trim stuff right here. Pull all that stuff off. Door handles, probably. Should we do door handles? Probably door handles off. And essentially, we're just gonna get going. She should be painted by the end of the week. So that's our goal. So right now it is Friday, and I want to have it painted or be painting it by next Friday. So basically a 1-week paint job on this thing. We're gonna paint it here in the shop. We'll get a little bit of dirt nibs in it. We'll buff some of the nibs and stuff out. Also, part of the reason why we're not putting the engine and tranny in there right now, because I'm waiting on parts. Ordered a bunch of parts. They should all be here at the end of the week. So basically this week is paint. Next week is install the engine and transmission, wheels, tires, coilovers, and then we can drive it. So we're starting off, now that we got the headlights, taillights, the mirrors, some trim, the bumpers off of it. Now we need to find the dents. And in order to find the dents, kind of an easy way is just to look at it. If you could see them, like there's visible dents right there. So the other way to find dents is by sanding, basically blocking it, and then seeing if you could see like a shiny spot or low spot. So we'll give you a quick little example. Obviously there's dents right there, but I'm just trying to show you guys how you could tell with the sandpaper. So you could see how it's shiny and then basically matte because we sanded it all off. So we have sand scratches and then shiny paint where nothing touched it, that's dent. So then basically what you do is you go back in it with some different sandpaper. We'll actually show you that in a minute. I'm gonna find some dents, then we're gonna lay some filler in these things. this is kind of an interesting piece right here. It almost looks like they welded on a new, I don't know, unless that's the factory line and then it just so happened to got a dent right there. It's a weird thing. The quarter panel is original. Like the door jambs, the seams, everything is fine, but it's welded right here, which is really weird unless somebody like sectioned in like a piece, which is, you know, they'll do crazy stuff. So what we're gonna do, like I said, this is less than 1/8 of an inch of body filler, and you really don't get too concerned unless you're going over like 1/4 of an inch of filler applied kind of all at once. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is just grind this away. So I got the buffer with a 6-inch pad with a 40 grit disc on it. Basically, we'll turn this thing down and we'll just do that until it kind of blends itself out, and then we'll just kind of fill it in. Should be good to go. Not too big of a deal. It's fine. Tuck the beard. Pump the beard. Come over here and tell the people why you don't rattle can your car.
Well, there's many reasons.
If you ever want to paint it and actually make it look good.
So rattle can is like the hardest thing to sand off, I think.
So it's essentially rattle can never gets completely like
Dry or
hard.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have any hardener in it, and it just like gums everything up. So perfect example.
Sandpaper.
This is a little bit of sandpaper right now. So this is a 120 grit, and I'm basically blocking this quarter panel. So watch this. As soon as I start,
That's all rattle can runs right
so
there.
see how we get those black streaks in it?
Just gums up.
Look
the
at that.
sandpaper.
Just get a great shot of that. Just zoomed all the way in. That was less than 3 seconds of sanding, and it clogged this 120 grit sandpaper, which is kind of aggressive. So now I'm just using a little wire brush.
PSA, do not rattle can your car. Just if it's like a shit box or something, and it's like, you know, I'm gonna drive this into the dirt and scrap it, then do whatever you want. But if you plan on doing something with your vehicle, don't just get by and patch it with spray.
Well, or get the rattle can.
The correct.
You could get rattle cans that's a base coat, just a regular base coat, and then you could get a 2K. So a 2K mean 1K is no hardener, 2K is hardener. Basically, it means that it's catalyzed, it has hardener in it, and it essentially gets hard eventually.
That's what she said.
So get a rattle can with the hardener with like a little thing on the bottom. They're like 10 or 20 bucks, probably 20 bucks. You damage your fender and you're gonna rattle can base coat, and then go over it with like a rattle can 2K clear coat if that's your only option. That is the best way to do it. If you go to like Home Depot and you get 30 Rust-Oleum cans and you go out and like rattle bomb your car, your finger's gonna hurt. First off, that's the biggest issue, is your poor finger's gonna hurt. There's only like 4 ounces of paint in a rattle can. Literally 4 ounces, that much paint in a whole rattle can, and they're like $5. Whereas you could go and get like a gallon of single stage with hardener for like 120 bucks. Go to Harbor Freight, get a $14 paint gun, and like even one of those little pancake air compressors, like the Harbor Freight paint guns actually run off of those. Sean has painted a car like that, remember?
Oh, me and Blake actually. About 8-10 years ago, we painted an Acura Integra, and seriously, with what was like a 3-gallon pancake compressor?
Yeah. It ran the whole time.
32, 35 PSI. It actually came out really good.
Now it just makes it really, really tough, because now essentially everything that was rattle canned on this thing like has to come off, because as soon, here, I'll give you another example. So this right here is basically just paint gun cleaner. It's like a lacquer thinner. It's a little bit more aggressive than like lacquer. It's what I use to clean my paint gun. So right here you can see the rattle can. You can tell this is kind of some fresh stuff, but we'll just hit that real quick. We'll just let it sit for a minute. But then watch this. So we have a brand new towel. So it doesn't get hard. And then it also messes up everything that you go to put on top of it. Everything is ruined. Like, I don't know, like I kind of wish we would have found a car that wasn't rattle can, but the IS300s, the prices of them are going up. Cost of living's high and going up, and IS300s, I guess, are on that list. So now this is like sticky.
Yeah, there's nothing hard about it.
And I just made it like harder to sand now, because
Yeah.
I like it's basically like gum.
Yeah, you blew it. You blew it.
Demonstration purposes.
We need to like.
Yeah, I know we make videos around here, but we don't have much more time to do so. So let's get to work, boys.
This is the 5 o'clock rush. Look at that. That is just. I mean, look at that. What is that? That's like a clear coat. Ooh, that's rattle can clear.
Eat it.
That is rattle can clear coat right there.
Well, luckily, I think it's just these back panels that have. I don't know. Is the whole thing rattle can? The hood looks good.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
So right now I'm basically hitting it with a 40 grit sandpaper just to kind of give it some tooth. So say this in pretty much every video. Paint and body filler and all that stuff, it's a mechanical bond and you have to give it tooth to stick to. So like I could come here and I could stick body filler on this window and it would stick for a little while until you chipped it and then the whole thing would just come right off. Same thing with your paint. If you do not scuff your paint or anything with an aggressive enough tooth to make it mechanically stick in and kind of lock in, it's just gonna fall off. That's why with this, I'm scuffing the metal with the 40 grit as well as the stuff around it because we are gonna be blending the body filler out, and I essentially sanded away all of the rattle can back to like the normal primer where we're gonna be blending so that it's not trying to adhere to the rattle can, because, you know. Hopefully you guys understand my feelings towards rattle can. I don't really like it. So we're gonna go over there, we're gonna mix up some filler, and we're gonna do this real quick and give you guys a quick little block, show you guys how it's done right here. Primer eventually. Should we tell them primer's coming? All right, so we're gonna hit this thing with some wax and grease real quick. Basically wipe it up. Then you kind of almost want it to dry just a little bit. See all that stuff that came up? And I already blew it off and wiped it before. Kind of let it flash a little bit, and then you go back over it kind of with a dry wipe. Pretty much ready to go, so let's mix up some filler. We got that new. We're gonna use that. The thing about body fillers, it's not really how you put it on, it's how you take it off. Basically, you can see this thing has kind of a big, like a, you know, a big lump sum right there. But what we do is there's this trick called hitting it when it's not completely hard. Because if you hit it when it's like solid as rock, you're just gonna be sanding it for a while. And I made this mistake when I was first painting cars and doing that stuff, is I would like let it get completely hard as a rock and then sand it with 180 grit. And I'm just sitting there like all day. So what you do is you kind of wait till it's kind of a little tacky, like almost a little tacky. You wait just a little bit past that and you get 40 grit sandpaper and you just go like a freaking cheese grater. Like a cheese grater, just like, it's like trying to cut a tomato with a dull knife is like 180 grit versus like a freaking, like a chef's like razor with like 40 grit. Like I said, cheese grater, we got one of those. Check this out. So this is a quick way to not gum up your paper basically. So sometimes it's nice to kind of rough that in like that. Put it on kind of thick, but then you take it off like this. And it's still a little tacky for the sandpaper. Kind of knock down them top ridges. And then this also kind of helps take a little bit of that sticky kind of top layer off before we hit it with the sandpaper. That just saves so much time. And then we'll probably be a little bit low on this again. I know it's pretty high right here, so that's why I'm kind of shaving that off more so. John, you want to hit that front? Yeah. All right, so now we're ready. See, and then kind of gums up the paper when you do that. Once you fill up your paper, maybe we should turn this into like a how to do body work like video. Yeah, it'll gum up the paper a little bit, and then you just hop right back on it. All right, so now you can see it. You can see our line. That's basically where we went to with the buffer. And then you can see right here, that line right there. So there's literally only filler in the low spot. But we had a filler from here to here, and that's why we put on more, and then we use the 40 grit to cut it straight. Now you have 40 grit scratches in your piece. So now you have to know what you're doing and take the necessary steps after that, whether you go over it now with a skim of icing and then you hit that with like 120 grit, or basically hit it with icing and then hit it with the high build primer and then block it, let it sit for a day or so and let it shrink before you actually paint it. So lots of stuff I learned. Painted my first car when I was 16. It was actually the first video on the channel. One of the first videos on the channel, the Mustang. It was the very first car I ever painted, over 10 years ago. So there's 10 years of knowledge up in that brain, but look at that. Like you think that that's like a bad piece. You're like, oh, this car's ruined. 5 minutes later, a little bit of filler, a little bit of primer, brand new, good to go. So yeah, this video was supposed to be us just working on the IS and getting it ready for paint, and I was planning on actually hitting this thing with some primer in this video, but as you can tell, we have a little bit more stuff to do, right?
A lot more.
We have a lot more stuff to do. So this is like, I don't know if this is worse than Plasti Dip or not. You can tell they didn't even sand it. Look, it's like shiny.
It's like shiny, yeah.
It's shiny underneath that. That, my friends, is why you never rattle can your whole car. If you do the stuff with hardener or use primer, not the actual stuff with the glossiness, because it never gets hard. So appreciate you guys watching this video. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know what color you think we should paint this thing. I'm thinking just black. I mean, the jams are black, everything else is black. Be sure to subscribe for more if you like this thing, or if you like what we're doing with this thing. In the next video, we should be primering this thing and doing a little bit more body work on it. Sorry I didn't get no primer done in this video, but I wanted to get a video out for you guys. Appreciate you watching, and see you later.